She was booked, fingerprinted, and placed in federal custody. In less than 48 hours, Jasmine Pineda's American dream collapsed, with a deportation order stamped, sealed, and reportedly fast-tracked by forces way beyond her control. What wasn't shown on TV? This wasn't random. This wasn't sudden. And it might not have even been accidental. Welcome to TLC Drama Files. I'm Aliva, and before we go full throttle into this wild unraveling of betrayal and control, make sure you're subscribed, because the real drama doesn't happen on camera, it leaks after the cameras stop rolling. Drop your take in the comments. Was Jasmine framed, or are we looking at karma served cold? Now rewind. A year ago, Jasmine was the breakout star TLC didn't know they needed. Fierce, emotional, unpredictable, and incredibly watchable. Her fights with Gino weren't scripted, but they were ratings gold. She brought fire to a franchise flooded with dull storylines. That's why producers leaned in. More confessionals, more drama, more vulnerability on cue. What the audience didn't see was how much pressure was being quietly applied behind the scenes. Gino had started changing. His tone on screen was passive, almost robotic, but off-screen. Colder, more withdrawn. Allegedly controlling. He used money like a leash, alternating between showering Jasmine in payoffs and ghosting her in moments of meltdown. And every time she threatened to walk, he'd dangle promises. A wedding, green card help, brand deals. Things that only work if the cameras keep rolling. By the time they hit their last shared season, cracks weren't just showing. They were deepening fast. Jasmine's IG stories were messy. Her captions, vague but heavy. Things like, being strong never earned me peace, or real betrayal comes smiling. Followers thought she was being dramatic. A few even laughed. No one considered she might be warning us. Here's where things get chilling. Months before her arrest, there were whispers among crew insiders that something was off. Her energy on set was spiraling. Too many breaks, too many tears behind the glam. Someone allegedly reported that producers caught Jasmine sobbing in a waiting room, staring at her phone, saying, "They're building a case." Not a scene, not a storyline. A real case. Meanwhile, Gino was pivoting. His socials were quiet. His answers in interviews became way more clipped. Rumors say he opened a private Gmail document, collecting PayPal screenshots, WhatsApp audios, and texts under a folder labeled Protection. Not protection from Jasmine's rage, but from legal fallout TLC. Sat back, nothing public, nothing proactive. According to one former set assistant, they called it the honeymoon curse during meetings, claiming the Jasmine-Gino chaos always peaks mid-season and crashes before the tell-all. No threat, just good content, except this time, it didn't crash. It detonated. 2 weeks before the arrest, Jasmine posted a birthday selfie with no caption. Looked normal, except if you zoomed in, she wasn't wearing her ring. Her eyes were puffy, and comments were off. Those who knew her timeline say this was the same week Gino allegedly stopped responding to immigration follow-ups, and then came the real blow. ICE reportedly moved on Jasmine after receiving documentation that tied her name to patterns of financial coercion. Not just from emails, but bank transfers linked to a long-term unreciprocated financial agreement. She wasn't accused of stealing. She was accused of strategizing, and federal offices don't move unless the paperwork is tight. But here's where it flips. This storm didn't come out of nowhere. Some insiders believe Jasmine's arrest wasn't just messy, it may have been planned. $70,000. That's the number circling headlines, screenshots, whispers in cast group chats, and allegedly even a locked Dropbox folder in Michigan with Gino's name on it. Not money spent on a wedding, not even a shared future. This is money Jasmine was accused of demanding over time, piece by piece, under pressure. And if those receipts are real, they may tell a story of power disguised as partnership. Jasmine didn't come to the U.S. with backup. No job, no safety net. Her ability to work was suspended by visa restrictions, and Gino knew that. According to sources close to production, early gifts turned into routine payments. Cosmetic procedures, rent money, hairstylists, even sessions with a Miami content coach to grow her brand, all allegedly paid by Gino. But Jasmine never tried to hide the dependence. She was public about wanting her independence, but said TLC gave her no real pathway. Just more arguments, more airtime, more moments. But here's where we shift focus. When does support become control? And when does asking for help become extortion? Let's walk this timeline. First year in America, Jasmine's content goes viral. Gino is posting goofy selfies with matching shirts. So far, so codependent. Mid-relationship, money flows faster. Jasmine's surgeries spark plastic surgery rumors online. her wardrobe steps up. Like clockwork, Gino seems jittery whenever the relationship is on the rocks. Every time she threatens to leave or hints at heartbreak, he pays more. By year 2, Jasmine's passive captions become emotional landmines. "You like me better when I need you." Silence doesn't mean innocence. Her fans call it love. Others call it pressure. Producers bustled her from crisis to crisis with cameras rolling and apparently didn't ask many questions about off-camera finances. Why would they? The storyline was printing views. Behind the curtain, Gino was allegedly collecting proof. Bank transfers with notes that read, "Just don't leave me today." Voice messages she allegedly sent crying, saying, "If I have nothing, I become a burden, and you'll throw me out." According to one source, Gino told producers he started feeling less like a partner, more like a wallet with a door key, and then came the silent agreement. Unverified, yes, but widely rumored, that Jasmine had once promised to return the money when she was legally cleared to work, or to help cover part of it after she got a social media deal. But time passed. Bills added up. Nothing came back. Gino allegedly snapped a note on Power. Fans often clutch pearls when women ask for money on this show. But when men like Big Ed or Colt flash expensive gestures, it's treated like generosity. The double standard? Loud. Jasmine wasn't the first woman whose relationship came with receipts, but she might be the first said to face federal action because of them. Publicly, Jasmine never admitted to manipulating money. But privately, she seemed fragile. Screenshots circulating among 90-day sleuths show messages to friends. "He's tracking me like I'm a paycheck, not a person." Around this time, her behavior shifted. Fewer glam photos, a lot more anxiety in her stories. At one point, she posted a prayer in Spanish about betrayal. The next day, Gino's account deleted 2 years of photos. But here's where things cracked wide open. Whether out of desperation, resentment, or legal advice, Gino reportedly submitted a document batch to immigration authorities. It allegedly included export PDFs of Jasmine's payment requests, timestamps tied to emotional breakdowns, and texts threatening to expose personal information if he tried to leave again. It wasn't a case of love gone wrong, they said. He framed it like a long con wrapped in affection, and what Gino allegedly handed over next could shift the entire franchise's risk strategy, because if Jasmine's name is linked to a financial abuse filing triggered by K-1 conditions, every couple on TLC's roster suddenly looks like a legal liability. Behind the filters and heavy edits, reality TV is anything but real. And when the cameras stopped rolling on Jasmine Pineda, the real performance began, one driven not by love or loyalty or even drama, but by fear, leverage, and corporate quiet. By the end of her last season, Jasmine wasn't just exhausted, she was watched. According to 2 former crew members who requested anonymity, Jasmine's scripted chaos wasn't so scripted anymore. Multiple moments on set allegedly involved her removing her mic mid-filming, muttering phrases like, "This feels like a setup," or "They want me to scream so they get a cliffhanger." The producers didn't stop. They repositioned. One crew member said, "She cried almost every day. If she didn't, they'd push her till she did." TLC's control, as insiders explain it, wasn't shouted. It came in silence. There were no hugs after breakdowns. No wellness checks when she missed call times. Cast contracts allegedly limit therapy offers to post-filming and only cover a single session. And when Jasmine began asking for breaks, or requested that one explosive fight with Gino not be aired, she was reportedly told, "You signed the waiver. That waiver is standard." But what's not standard? Giving cast members public-facing fame and private invisibility when real emergencies happen. In Jasmine's case, her breakdown started blending into filming. But instead of recognizing the collapse, TLC edited it into content. While public fans thought Jasmine was passionate, behind the scenes she was unraveling under legal pressure and emotional isolation. Reports say she spent 3 weekends sleeping in the guest room of a Miami acquaintance because she feared Gino was feeding their arguments into a legal case. She believed she was being watched in more ways than one. Neighbors started noticing small red flags too. One woman from her building apparently told an entertainment blogger that Jasmine had stopped talking to anyone near her complex. She left her apartment only at night. Grocery bags, fast, head down. Not like how she was when she first moved here. That girl used to wave at everyone. And TLC? Silent. Not a warning, not a prep team. The very network that aired her heartbreak across continents didn't even comment when arrests hit the press. But here's what's worse. Even as Jasmine's emotional state worsened, she was still expected to perform. Days before her first court appearance, she had allegedly filmed confessionals laughing about a fake jealousy storyline. Makeup slapped on, lashes glued under swollen eyes. Producers bypassing the elephant in the room like it wasn't standing right between the cameras. Viewers didn't see it because TLC didn't air it. What they saw was Jasmine saying wild things, crying, exploding, threatening to throw her ring. But they didn't hear what producers cut from the takes, the whispered moments where she asked, "Can you not air this if things get worse?" And according to insiders, things were already worse. One producer, allegedly removed mid-season after raising ethical complaints, said quietly, she wasn't playing up the drama anymore. She was burning out. And nobody around her cared because the footage was gold. The silence wasn't incompetence. It was calculated. TLC's approach to legal drama has always been to let the drama build, then act shocked when it explodes into view. That way, they get plausible deniability and viral engagement. The moment Jasmine realized TLC wasn't protecting her, she turned to her own receipts. And what she did next wasn't for ratings. It was survival. In the next segment, we unpack the private messages, secret folders, and pre-arrest clues Jasmine allegedly began planting before her name hit headlines. The screenshots didn't leak all at once. They started as whispers, DMs passed between fan accounts, Reddit threads quickly deleted, cryptic Instagram tags with no context. At first, everyone assumed they were fakes. Jasmine has always been dramatic, right? But then someone noticed the timestamps. A $500 PayPal request sent hours after a filmed fight with Gino that ended with her storming out. A Venmo transaction labeled "Calm Now" right after a social media breakdown. Patterns started forming, and the dots started to connect. Then came the folder. An anonymous fan account, known for scooping 90-day leaks, claimed they got access to a set of messages allegedly from Jasmine's old WhatsApp backup. The messages weren't theatrical. They read tired, hollow. One said, "They want me to break. If I cry again on camera, I swear they'll use it." Another read, "I told G if he reports me, I won't survive this. He said that's not his problem anymore." Fans went into a frenzy. This wasn't the Jasmine they knew, the fiery, lipstick-loaded storm they'd followed for 3 seasons. This Jasmine sounded scared, wrecked, possibly baited. Here's where it swings hard. Some of Jasmine's captions, labeled overreactions at the time, match word for word what producers allegedly told her off camera. In late March, she posted a black and white selfie with a caption that read, "Go ahead. Tell your side. You'll still be edited like the hero." Fans called her paranoid, but insiders from another TLC set said that exact phrasing, "you'll be edited like the hero," is common language from producers trying to encourage cast members to escalate drama. And as for TLC, not one public statement after the arrest, not one word defending, clarifying, or even distancing themselves. Instead, cast members reportedly began getting quiet instructions. No comments about Jasmine, no reposts, no acknowledging anything outside of airing episodes. Internally, some called it contain mode. PR crisis manuals, locked group chats, even alleged requests from legal to scrub drafts of upcoming promos featuring Jasmine's face. It begs the question, was TLC caught off guard or backing away from a mess they may have helped create? Remember this, Jasmine had filmed scenes for a new spin-off, Happily Ever After, ironically. Insiders say the arc was complex, frazzled but functional. A redemption season, possibly even featuring wedding planning or K1 progress. At least 3 filming segments were captioned with wedding bells emoji in a private Dropbox reserved for editors. Viewers never saw any of it. Her arc was cut completely. Here's where a former producer dropped a quiet bombshell. He claimed a TLC higher-up said during a private edit meeting, "She had one job, stay quiet and play nice. She didn't. Now she's out." So was Jasmine fired or legally forced out? Hard to tell. But what we know is this. She wasn't going down without records. Right before her arrest, she wiped her stories, reposted fan edits of her crying, then archived everything. But fans, watching her digital foot trail, slowed it down frame by frame and noticed a quick flash of a file name in one story. Truth 2023. Some believe there's a master folder, voice notes, messages, transaction logs, and some claim TLC's legal team knows it's real, which is why they've gone completely radio silent on platforms they usually dominate during cast controversies. But what happened next left even veteran producers blindsided. Jasmine's receipts didn't go viral because she leaked them. They went viral because someone else might have. And the motive? Payback or protection. Stick around. What's coming? Next takes us inside the control rooms, edit bays, and breakdowns that TLC tried to bury. The moment Jasmine's arrest hit the news cycle, TLC's boardroom turned into a pressure cooker. Phones lit up, emails flooded legal inboxes, and entire episodes were reportedly pulled from editing suites overnight. Advertisers started asking hard questions. Cast members began ghosting group chats. And somewhere inside a locked edit bay, a folder titled Jasmine Final Cut B was quietly renamed Archive. The business reaction wasn't subtle. It was immediate. According to one insider, from post-production, TLC didn't even wait for the full public fallout. By the time the arrest story began trending, they'd already paused all promo footage featuring Jasmine, including a reportedly finished sizzle reel for a new Happily Ever After segment. The spin-off, which wrapped filming weeks earlier, centered on Gino and Jasmine trying marriage counseling. One segment supposedly included Jasmine bonding with a stepsister figure, filmed to soften her public image. Another had them previewing a beach wedding setup in Fort Lauderdale. None of that made it past Monday. Sources say corporate flagged the footage as no longer viable, not because the story changed, it was always rocky, but because the optics had shifted. See, once someone's trending with legal allegations and possible fraud tied to visas and finance, it's not about love anymore. It's liability. Sponsors don't want their names anywhere near it, especially not subscription services, wellness brands, or wedding vendors. By Thursday, at least 3 brands allegedly told TLC they wouldn't renew partnership ad placements if Jasmine was still listed on the network's official roster of returning talent. Normally, TLC plays these things safe. Wait it out, issue a generic statement, and let time kill the story. But this time, the warning signs had receipts. Actual receipts, legal risks, and possibly leaked production logs, which fans now speculate show that TLC knew her situation months earlier and filmed anyway. In the editing bay, it was chaos. Producers reportedly sent panicked messages to casting coordinators asking if replacement storylines could be elevated quickly. One editor claims entire scenes were shortened, restructured, or replaced with cutaways and voiceovers. "We were basically told to erase her," they said. Not fade out, delete. A month of footage tossed, not because of poor performance, but because Jasmine turned from centerpiece to corporate hazard. Even more disturbing, she allegedly wasn't warned. One assistant editor claimed Jasmine only found out from Instagram that she'd been edited out. Imagine waking up, expecting to see your segment teased in a promo, and instead finding your face literally scrubbed from thumbnails, descriptions, and cast intros. Her digital ghosting was total. TLC removed her from cast lineups. PR reps reportedly avoided questions with, "The matter is being handled with appropriate discretion." And yet, Jasmine's story wasn't over, because fans didn't forget. They started reposting old clips, digging into deleted scenes. Even ex-cast members weighed in. Larissa posted a cryptic IG story with "This industry eats its own." Devon wrote, "When they can use your pain for views, they'll air it 3 times. When your pain becomes a legal problem, they pretend they never knew you." Indirect, but not subtle. Meanwhile, Gino? Oddly silent. The same man who once obsessed over hats and awkwardly shared DMs on camera had ghosted his own social presence. Fans noticed he'd unfollowed Jasmine the night before her arrest, not after. Some pointed out his likes stopped weeks earlier. Did he know? Or worse, did he time it? Others aren't convinced it was all about Jasmine. This scandal reached far beyond her story. Behind the scenes, TLC was facing a pattern. Multiple international cast members have previously raised concerns about working restrictions, immigration pressure, and feeling forced to act more dramatic just to stay relevant. Jasmine's breakdown might have been the first time it bled into legal action, and suddenly, execs saw every underpaid, overfilmed K-1 visa holder as a potential PR bomb waiting to go off. The damage wasn't limited to edits. Current cast members were allegedly told to avoid engaging with leaked content. That meant DMs, memes, even indirect tweets. TLC reportedly threatened to suspend promo payments for anyone who commented on the Jasmine situation publicly. That's not speculation. It lines up with posts from at least 2 cast members who deleted comment replies within minutes after being asked about Jasmine. Internally, the scramble to clean up led to lost footage, re-edits, and according to one junior producer, an unsent press release that blamed external legal matters beyond TLC's control. It never went live. Why? Because the chaos didn't stop with the show. Fans started tagging immigration attorneys. Armchair experts were dissecting timelines. TLC couldn't control the narrative anymore. And that's their worst nightmare. But as usual, the star at the center of the storm is the one who suffers the most. Jasmine, likely exhausted and isolated, was cut not by viewers, but by algorithms and strategy meetings. Her arc went flatline digitally. No refunds, no rewrites, no press apology. This wasn't a character being written off. It was a person being deleted while still breathing. Those final days before deportation? We don't have footage, but we do have reports. Her phone was traced active at a private holding center. Socials went static. No new posts. No online goodbyes, until one suddenly appeared, a grainy airport selfie. Posted to Facebook through an unverified alt account, allegedly showed Jasmine half smiling in a hoodie, with one line underneath. "They didn't break me, they buried me alive. I'll dig my way back with proof in my hands." Fans weren't sure what it meant. Was it a final jab at TLC? A shot at Gino? Or a warning? But what Jasmine did right before boarding her deportation flight changes how you see the whole scandal. She didn't cry. She didn't rage. She mailed a drive, a physical package, not to press, not to lawyers, to someone still working inside the edit bay. Jasmine Pineda stepped off the plane in Panama City looking nothing like the reality TV fireball the internet remembered. No lashes, no contour, no designer boots, just a black hoodie pulled low over tired eyes, and a silence that hit harder than any explosive tell-all moment she'd ever filmed. Panama greeted her not as a returning daughter, but a walking tabloid headline. The scandal had crossed borders. Local news picked up the U.S. arrest reports within a day. Morning radio shows joked about La Drama Queen de TLC. One panelist even called her the Kardashian of broken visas. If America painted her as the villain, Panama wasn't offering redemption either. Only curiosity, controversy, and cameras waiting by the exit terminal. Waiting there too, quietly off to the side, was her mother. And in a scene no camera captured but neighbors later described to interviewers, Jasmine fell into her mother's arms like the fight had finally left her. No fans screaming her name. No crew asking for pickups. Just a mother with tears in her eyes and a daughter who looked older than her age. Jasmine's return wasn't a homecoming. It was a retreat. She moved back into a modest apartment near where she once taught English. Before the cameras, before the filters, before Gino. Her once glossy social media presence vanished. No selfies, no rants, no reposts. Digital blackout. Some fans assumed she was hiding. Others feared she was unraveling, but a few noticed something different. Jasmine had always been loud about her pain. This time she was quiet, controlled, and for the first time off script. Local bloggers tried to track her. One site claimed she was spotted visiting a lawyer's office that handles international fraud cases. Another reported she was filing paperwork for a permit to start a business under a friend's name. She didn't confirm or deny any of it, but the silence worked like bait. Online obsessives started flooding threads all over again. Was she starting a revenge channel? Writing a memoir? Planning a lawsuit? The Jasmine they'd known was raw, impulsive. The one they were seeing now? Measured. Still bruised but calculating. What didn't change? The hate? Old followers reappeared in droves after the arrest. Instagram posts from years earlier filled with fresh comments. Scammer. Visa hunter. Now you're your own storyline. Some of those same people used to cheer her on when she clapped back at Gino on national TV. Now they'd turned. Same audience, different pitchforks. This is what happens when you're no longer useful to a machine that chews up emotion and calls it entertainment. Jasmine didn't exit the show. She was evicted from the narrative. And the fallout wasn't scripted. Back in Panama, she had to rebuild without the luxury of editing. Neighbors whispered. Former students reportedly distanced themselves. Even media-friendly friends avoided her, worried that association would hurt their future careers. Jasmine didn't just lose a relationship, she lost leverage in the place. That once gave her pride. But there's something deeper here. What happens when reality TV decides your story's over without giving you the conclusion? When production cuts your footage, edits your legacy, and lets the world judge your silence like guilt? Jasmine was no longer a character. She was a case. Yet somewhere in all that chaos, something shifted. Not online, but underground. That package she reportedly mailed before leaving the U.S., the one addressed to the editing department, someone opened it. And a few weeks later, something started circling private industry chats. Footage with no timestamps. Audio that sounded raw, unsure of itself. A confession, except it wasn't a confession in the dramatic crying on the floor sense. It was whispered off camera. A hot mic pickup. Jasmine's voice, brittle but clear. If they stop filming, do I stop existing? The audio wasn't flashy. No climax, no wig throwing. But it hit harder than any blow-up in all her seasons combined. Editors reportedly froze when they heard it. That line wasn't meant to be captured. It was a thought she likely mumbled out loud to herself. But the emotional cut lands deep, because in a reality show vacuum, that's exactly what happens. When the footage stops, so does the oxygen. That clip wasn't supposed to go public. But it did. Maybe accidentally, maybe by force. Nobody knows if it was intentional, but suddenly fan pages were posting it. Subchannels uploaded the audio layered over black screens. Reddit threads labeled it, "the one line that changes everything." And it did. Fans began asking new questions. Was Jasmine simply emotional? Or was she used past the breaking point? Should TLC be liable for what it encourages and what it ignores? Even Gino faced unexpected backlash. Supporters who once praised his calm demeanor now wondered if his silence had been strategic from the start. Had he been fueling the story for legal gain? Or was he simply another product of a pressure cooker environment? Questions started stacking, and Jasmine, the woman once dismissed as unstable and ungrateful, suddenly looked human again. Broken, yes. Damaged, definitely. But no longer cartoonish, no longer disposable, because that one line, quiet, off mic, and never meant to air, became more powerful than any scripted fight. Then came a secret clip that should have never aired, but it did. The footage was never supposed to be seen. No graphics, no background music, no talking heads to guide you. Just a grainy, unpolished clip left on a forgotten hard drive. Its metadata clocked at 3 a.m., labeled Trash Temp 12, B. For months, it sat buried under montage B-roll, chopped reaction shots, and unused sound bites from a scene TLC decided didn't go anywhere. Someone hit save. Someone didn't delete it. And someone leaked it. In the video, Jasmine isn't screaming. She's not throwing rings or threatening revenge. She's not even mic'd up properly. She's sitting in a dimly lit corner of a makeshift dressing room, holding her wrists in her lap, rocking slightly, speaking into the void. The crew's out of frame, but you hear them moving. Then she says it. If they stop filming, do I stop existing? No edits, no jump cuts. Just a single line delivered with the kind of emptiness that doesn't need context. That line exploded. Within hours of surfacing, fan forums flipped. The clip bounced between Reddit, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and even made its way into media circles that had once ignored the scandal. Influencers who had mocked Jasmine weeks earlier were now posting apology TikToks with captions like, "This hit different," or "I didn't realize how real it was." Suddenly, the conversation wasn't about money or manipulation. It was about desperation. And how invisible that desperation becomes when it's packaged as entertainment. Because Jasmine's entire breakdown wasn't a breakdown. It was a performance. Not in the fake manufactured sense, but in the survival sense. She played the role TLC expected her to play because they controlled the script. They decided which tears were valid and which were meltdown material. They chose when love became chaos and when chaos became content. For years, Jasmine was dragged for overreacting. Fans said she was unstable, manipulative. Too much. They didn't know she was waking up at 5 a.m. to get camera ready for a fake bedroom scene after crying all night about being ghosted by her fiancé. They didn't know the person. Editing her confessionals also filed expense. Reports with descriptions like emotional pivot, B-roll. Jasmine was a product because that's how she was. Treated. When Gino handed over the alleged $70,000 receipts, he may have believed he was protecting himself. And maybe he was, but TLC? They were already calculating fallout. Already shifting airtime, redrafting arcs, finding new faces to fill the space she left. She wasn't protected. She wasn't defended. She was deleted, then replaced. But this leak flipped the script. That single clip carried more weight than any guilty verdict or cancellation ever could. Because it wasn't about criminality. It was about morality. And for once, the internet stopped laughing. They started listening. Comments flooded in. She's not perfect, but this isn't justice. Where's the accountability for production? Imagine breaking on camera and never being seen again unless it goes viral. The same forums that once ripped her apart were now debating ethics, contracts, and cast care. TLC's silence became a statement in itself. The brand that once profited off her loudest moments had nothing to say about her quietest one. And that silence, it spoke volumes. One former staff editor posted anonymously on a message board, "What y'all saw wasn't even the worst of it. There's more, way more. We weren't making TV, we were breaking people." The clip had no scandal, no camera shake, no chaos. But it made viewers feel, and in a show that thrives on spectacle, nothing is more threatening than truth that feels like reality. For once, Jasmine wasn't content. She was human, and that's what made TLC shiver. Fans now speculate the leak came from someone inside the building. A producer? A disgruntled editor? Someone who couldn't live with the buried footage? We may never know. But one thing's certain, the leak shattered whatever control TLC thought they had over the narrative. In the fallout, conversations shifted. Commentators began issuing breakdowns of reality TV contracts. Former cast members hinted increasingly louder at their own horror stories. Even sponsors started tiptoeing back into the conversation, asking whether networks have ethical standards for mental health support. And in the center of it all, Jasmine remained silent. No tell-all, no statement, no comeback reel. She let the footage do the talking, because it was never really about the $70,000. The biggest betrayal wasn't the money. It was letting their real selves get rewritten into marketable lies, edited until they'd forget who they were outside of the lenses that profited off their pain. Now, insiders say another cast member, one currently filming, has started keeping their own records. Voice notes, email logs. Allegedly, one even hired a lawyer to review their current storyline to see if it's being framed into false light. Could Jasmine's downfall spark a chain reaction? That's where we go next. What if Jasmine wasn't the only one they tried to disappear?